Hello, sports enthusiasts, and welcome to another exciting episode of EBC Sports International. My name is Ken Cruz, and I'll be your host for today. With me are, in my humble opinion, the best sports analysts for fun in the game. First, we have Zarita Sesse from Ontario, Canada.
What up? Hi, guys.
So let's move to the West Coast from Vancouver, Canada, Jolty Horvath.
Let's go. What's up, guys?
And last but not least, Tiger Woods' #1 doppelganger from Seattle, Washington, Michael Hudson.
What's up, guys? Good to be back as always.
I'm glad you're all here. And if this is your first time watching our program, the way the show works is that we'll have a friendly discussion about various topics in the world of sports with the panel sharing their personal opinions. So even though we're not experts, we all share the common love of sports. So before we get to our fiery discussions, we have some news updates. Let's start with news regarding the most electrifying man in the world, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. Jolty, what's Mr. Rock up to?
I'm going to start it off with a little bit of energy. If you smell what The Rock is cooking. If not, let me tell you, The Rock, a.k.a. Dwayne Johnson, has bought an entire football league. Formerly WWE-owned Extreme Football League, or XFL for short, was a huge hit in its return last season, but due to the COVID-19 pandemic, had to cancel their season after 5 weeks and file for bankruptcy. Now, you must be thinking, wow, he didn't just buy one team. He bought an entire league. That must have cost a fortune. Due to the league being in bankruptcy, he got it for the dirt cheap price of $15 million. That's Mike Hudson money right there. Now, that's a lot of money that most of us won't ever see, but that's pocket change for the multimillionaire. That's about as much as he spends on workout supplements in 1 month. Do not quote me on that, please. As some of you may know, before his WWF and WWE stardom, The Rock played football at the University of Miami, winning a national championship in 1991, and had a brief stint in the Canadian Football League before leaving the sport. But his love for the sport never left, and has stated that he wants to keep the league running to give young players another avenue and another shot at the sport, which he did not have. He's also said that he'll most likely tap into the reality TV aspect of the league. So for those of you who are fans of Hard Knocks and All or Nothing on Amazon, the entire season might be documented in that style. Sources have publicly stated that the league is in no rush to resume operations and will look into how they can methodically and strategically maximize their viewership and revenue. Ken?
So, Jolty, I know you're a former football player. Are you thinking about brushing off those pads and getting into the league? Or what?
Do it, baby.
I got to lose another maybe 30, 40 pounds first, and then I'll be right down to play for those Seattle Dragons.
Oh, perfect.
Next Brian Urlacher, baby.
Don't forget us small folk once you're on TV. So thank you, Jolty. Next, we have Mike with an update from this weekend's PGA tournament. What's the Tiger Watch like, Mike?
I do have the Tiger Watch. So I have some news specifically from Harding Park in San Francisco, California, where the PGA Championship, the first major of the year, is being held. And you know what that means? Tiger Woods is going for his 16th career major. So with a strong 2 under par start yesterday in the first round, Tiger Woods showed that he just had to make a few minor adjustments on the putting green to get him at the top of the leaderboard in the second round, which was held earlier today. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. He missed numerous birdie putt opportunities within 3 feet. I mean, I think he 13 out of the 18 holes, he missed putts within 3 feet. It seemed like his driver off the tee was very erratic as well. It made me look like a superhero off the tee, the way he looked like today. And, he shot an abysmal 2 over par, which brought him to even par overall. He was on the borderline of missing a cut, which would mean that he would not move on to the third round. But I just got word that he made it the cut, so he'll move on to the third round tomorrow. So the good news is that his back looked great. There was no signs of soreness or tightness and things like that. His swing looked smooth. Granted, this is his only his third tournament since the pandemic, and he showed signs of really shaking out the rust, but there's still rust there that he has to work on, especially when it comes to putting. Right now, the leader of the PGA Tour Championship is Hotong Li of China, who is currently at 8 under par, and there are 2 more rounds to play, with the third round coming Saturday. Back to you, Ken.
So what are the chances of there being Championship Sunday for Mr. Woods?
I mean, with 8 shots back right now, I mean, he would have to have an amazing round tomorrow. I mean, he would have to shoot at least 5 or 6 under par to have a chance. So we'll see.
I mean, as his doppelganger, I think it might be a good choice for him to tag you in, right?
Hey, I would do it any day of the week, man.
Oh, thanks, Mike Woods. I'm just kidding. So MLB's been getting some heat on how they've been handling their return, as team after team are reporting positive coronavirus cases. Marita, you have an update on this?
So I do, Ken. So like we discussed last week, there have been clearly some flaws with the plans for the MLB, and they have been forced to review and update their protocols after several players on various teams, mainly the Marlins and the Cardinals, have tested positive. So even with that 150-page rule book that they had at the beginning of the season, they have now implemented a couple rule changes. So, for example, all players, all coaching staff must wear some sort of face covering mask throughout the entire duration of the game unless you're one of the players on the field. Traveling between cities is only for essential personnel only, which makes you question who's been traveling with the team. Players and coaches, the coaching staff must report to their compliance officer whenever they are leaving the hotel when they do travel. All players, again, must wear a mask wherever they are in the visiting city, unless they're alone in their hotel room. Another one are players and coaches are prohibited from going out to restaurants, bars, things like that once they are on the road. And home teams must provide the visiting team outdoor space throughout the game with a cover, so that way they can socially distance and things like that. And of course, given that it was reported that these outbreaks occurred as a result of teams breaking protocol, the MLB has come out and said that they will also be implementing more stringent social distancing protocols within the planes and team buses and things like that. And in addition to these protocols, the MLB had also been forced to reconfigure schedules, given that several series has been postponed due to the outbreaks. So with these positive tests alone, the schedule of 12 teams were derailed, which shows the domino effect of a pandemic like this. And despite all the hiccups, Commissioner Rob Manfred still believes that majority of the players are doing a good job adhering to the league's protocol. So it's just a matter of time to see how this league actually finishes and if they actually finish.
So, question for you before moving on. What is the percentage, in your opinion, that this season will finish based on these updates?
I'm going to say probably 75 to 80%, just because it's a little high. I think it might have been the Cubs actually today had to postpone another series because of positive test results. So I don't know if they're actually going to finish, but we'll see.
Thanks, Rita. So lastly, some NBA news. All-star and starting point guard of the Philadelphia 76ers, Ben Simmons, is out indefinitely with partial dislocation of the left kneecap. This is a huge hit to the playoff-bound 76ers, who have championship hopes. The MRI showed no ligament damage, but the timetable for his return is still unknown. Simmons stated that he is optimistic about potentially returning this season. Lastly, the NBA had its third week straight of 0 out of 343 players testing positive for coronavirus. That means that no player has tested positive since entering the bubble last month. And that includes players that had to leave for various reasons and return. They went through quarantine and still, after being tested, they have been tested negative. So the NBA has been very strict in enforcing their bubble rules, and the results have proven that their hard work is paying off. Well, that's it for the news. On the other side of the commercial break, the action begins. Stay tuned. You're watching EBC Sports International.
Hello, my name is Robin, and I'm 5 years old. My mom and dad said many people are getting sick. That is why we have to stay at home. That is why I cannot go to school. I cannot play outside, and I cannot even visit my friends. We can only go outside if we visit the doctor, or if we need to buy some food. And when we get home, we have to wash our hands. While I'm at home, I do my homework, clean up my toys, help cooking our food, and help my parents with their work. Please stay home so we can all play together again. Bye!
Bukas na po ang auditions para sa Tagisan ng Galing Part 2. Mag-audition na po kayo sapagkat mahigit sa 7 million pesos ang nag-aantay na papremyo sa kategorya ng sayawan at kantahan. Opo, Tagisan ng Galing Part 2. Dito lamang po yan sa Net 25.
Welcome back. So it's week 2 of the return of the NBA, and things are already heating up. The Western Conference is especially interesting as the race for the 8th spot is in full effect. The Memphis Grizzlies are currently sitting at the 8th spot with the huge loss of Jaren Jackson Jr. to a torn meniscus in his left knee for the rest of the season. Will they be able to hold on? And on top of that, will they be able to win their play-in game with the 9th spot contender? Right now, the Trailblazers, Suns, Spurs, Kings, and Pelicans are in hot pursuit. I believe they're only like 1 or 2 games behind all 5 of those teams. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yep. There's only 1 week left of regular season games left. I believe there's only 4 games left for each of the teams at most. Mike, who will be the 8th and 9th Western Conference seeds to finish the regular season?
Well, to answer your question, Ken, I have to say one thing before I present those 2 teams, and it's I think Ja Morant spoke way too soon with that tweet saying, "Oh, I don't even remember verbatim what he said, but he basically saying, hey, well, watch out for us. Haven't even won a game yet. Just had to put it out there." But the 2 teams that I think are going to be the 8th and 9th seed, I think it'll be Phoenix and also the Portland Trailblazers. I've said on the show prior weeks before that, Portland was my dark horse simply because they were missing two of their key players, Zach Collins and Nurkic, the body bag.
Grizzlies beat the Thunder tonight, just FYI.
Oh, they did? Okay. All right. Good.
So they got their first win.
Oh, they got their first win. Nice. All right. So, But with that being said, first of all, with Phoenix, they're by far the hottest team in the bubble. Devin Booker has been playing out of his mind. If you saw him the other day against the Clippers where he splashed that game-winning shot, just goes to show that, they're a very well-coached team, a lot of great young talent surrounding him. So they're definitely a hot team. And with Portland, like I was saying, they're missing Zach Collins and Nurkic for the better part of the first part of the year, which is why they were struggling. And now they're at full strength. They're leading the bubble with most threes made. Obviously, Damian Lillard is the superstar. You have CJ McCollum, and you also have the most underrated player in the bubble right now, Gary Trent Jr., shooting 59% from 3 and leading the entire bubble in threes made, and also Nurkic leading the entire bubble with total blocks as well. So this team is definitely a dark horse. If the Lakers have one team to worry about, it would definitely be Portland in the first round because they can definitely take them to the distance because they have the shooters and the snipers to stay within any game. So you have
Phoenix and Portland. And you have okay. So you have the Blazers and the Suns. Who will be facing the Lakers?
I have Portland. Portland playing the Lakers first round.
Gotcha. How about you, Zarita?
For me, I think Portland is gonna meet the Lakers for the first round. I think they're one of the teams that really benefited from COVID in that they were able to get their team fully healthy. And one thing you have to remember is they were injured for most of the season, so they're a lot lower than what they actually should be. So I have Portland making it to that 8th spot. And as interesting as the Suns have been, I just don't think, for one, schedule is on their side because they're going to play Miami, OKC, and then the Sixers. So again, as interesting as they are, I think slightly part of the reason why they're winning is a little bit of luck as well. Like that shot that Booker got over Kawhi and Paul George, I think that's, again, a little bit of luck. And as much as I want to see the Spurs to get that 23rd consecutive season in the playoffs, I just don't think it's going to happen. But one thing I really like about the next couple games for these 5 teams' schedule is going to be really, really tough. Like, no one has a clear-cut, easy schedule minus Pelicans. Everyone's kind of playing, the best of the East, so it'll be interesting. But I have Portland and probably Memphis in that 9th seed.
And who will be facing the Lakers?
I think it's going to be Portland, and it'll be really interesting. Like Mike said, I think they can take it deep into like a 7-game series, and then from there, I do have the Lakers beating Portland, but then that will be a good matchup for them coming into the rest of the playoffs, where they'll kind of get their legs under them. It'll be a good round.
Mike, thoughts on Nurkic's dunk on Bol the other day?
Hey, he had to get payback somehow for being a body bag to LeBron, right? So, I mean, he kind of redeemed himself with that dunk. I mean, I think Nurkic is a wonderful player. That was really unfortunate about the injury he sustained last season, but it looks like he's 100% now, especially after that dunk.
Yeah, what's crazy is that he came back from a crazy injury, and he's getting less of less baby than Zion, which is a little crazy to me. I know Zion's had his injuries here and there, but I mean the fact that Nurkic looks this strong, I mean I don't know, their medical team must be amazing over there in Portland. Either of you guys, do you have any love for the Sacramento Kings?
I completely forgot for that.
I don't. I mean, how disappointing has the Pelicans been? I mean, they got by far the easiest schedule in the bubble, and they lose to Sacramento. What was it, 140 to 115 or something like that, giving up 49 points in the first quarter. Absolute disappointment. I mean,
the Kings were shooting the lights out of that game, though. I mean, that's why I brought it up. Like, De'Aaron Fox is turning into a hardcore star. I mean,
yeah, I think every time he plays Lonzo Ball, he's just gonna give it to him every time.
That's agreed. But then at the same time, Lonzo Ball isn't doing himself any favors right now. Only doing 8 shots, 2 for 8, 2 for 9 each game. Yeah. Right? That's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's go to the next topic, sticking with the NBA. The NBA awards for the 2019-2020 season are slowly being announced. All awards are based on the season's performance up until the stoppage this past March. Currently, the only official award announced is the Coach of the Year. The National Basketball Coaches Association announced 2 winners this year. Back-to-back winner of the Milwaukee Bucks is Coach Mike Budenholzer, sharing the Coach of the Year honors with Oklahoma City Thunder coach Billy Donovan. Wild thing to note is that it was 1 vote away from being a 3-way tie that would have included Toronto Raptors coach Nick Nurse. So, was Coach Nurse robbed? EBC aside, proud Raptors fans, Arita, what are your thoughts?
I'm going to try really hard not to be biased, but absolutely this guy was robbed. Like, how do you lose the finals MVP? You lose Danny Green, but yet your team still is second in the East. I think, are they second best overall record? How do you not give this guy Coach of the Year, even alongside, I'll give it to Billy Donovan. He's kind of in the same position as Nick Nurse in losing key guys and introducing new players and things like that, and they're killing it. But Budenholzer is doing exactly what he was doing last year. I think we can say right now the Bucks is a regular season team. They're in the same exact position. The biggest player you lost was probably Brogdon, but having Giannis, you should be first in the East, and you should be first in the entire league. So I don't know why he got it again. And the thing that bugs me more about this award is it's Nick Nurse's peers who voted this. So it's other coaches who are now honestly looking to him to kind of scheme for these teams, see what, creativity Nick Nurse has, because he's one of the few coaches out there that's not afraid to experiment. And he said it himself that he's willing to try anything to see if it works. And now, for example, the Bucks won against Steph Curry in the finals. You're seeing that more and more in the league. But prior to Nick Nurse, that wasn't happening. So they're willing to look up to him and draw inspiration for plays, but at the same time not give him credit. So that's my piece. I'm very passionate about this, but I'm sure he'll get the actual Coach of the Year award.
Do you think it was Dwayne Casey that was the vote that stirred the pot?
Oh, imagine!
Yeah, I was actually going to go.
Surprise.
Going into it, I thought that he was raw. Then just really thinking about it, I thought about how relevant the Raptors have been at least the past 10 years, especially with Dwayne Casey there. I think that firing was the worst firing in the history of the NBA when they let go of Dwayne Casey after leading them to the best record in the NBA that season. When I think it was when Cleveland swept them. I want to say I may be misquoted on that, but yeah, I think that's probably one of the reasons why he didn't win is because I feel that Raptors have been pretty stabilized the past 10 years. Yeah, they won last year. They had Kawhi. They had Danny Green. This year, he's doing it without those guys. But I think as far as having Kyle Lowry, you have Siakam, you still have some pretty decent or pretty legit players that are on the roster. As far as Budenholzer and Donovan, I mean, Donovan definitely deserved it, especially with that last second losing of Russell Westbrook and PG 13. Budenholzer, he's been consistent. He's like a Greg Popovich, it's like every season, they have what it takes to really make their team a contender, even when he was with Atlanta. It's tough. It's unfortunate. I really think Nick Nurse is definitely in the top 5, but I believe that they did get it right. But I think Schultz is back on. So.
Yeah, Zarina, let me toss that back to you real quick. What are your thoughts on Mike's comment regarding Dwayne Casey's firing being a big mistake?
I think it's a very common thought when you're not a Raptors fan, but when you watch this team under Dwayne Casey game in and game out, you totally understand why Masai did it. Dwayne Casey is the polar opposite of Nick Nurse in that he was very regimented in his lineups. It's the same guys going in at specific times during the game. He wasn't flexible in how he coached this team, and that's kind of why Masai was like, this is it. The same thing happened with Cleveland. This was your last shot. And I think there were reports where after that game, pretty much Masai berated Dwayne Casey. So you knew at that point he was done with this team. So again, a lot of people outside of the Raptors fan base can say that, and I can see that, especially because he won Coach of the Year that year. But when you watch that coach day in and day out, you totally understand why he had to go.
Jolty, are you back real quick?
Yeah, I'm here.
All right, perfect. Well, okay, so 2 things, right? Let's get your 8th and 9th real quick before I ask you about the Coach of the Year.
I think it's going to be the Suns and the Blazers, and if it's not, I don't know what's going on, because the Grizz are falling apart. The Spurs, they're doing okay. The Pelicans, not so much. The Suns are on fire. Blazers are on fire. It's got to be those 2 teams, 8 and 9.
And then who's going to be facing the Lakers?
Oh, man, that's a good question. You mean first round?
Yes, sir.
Oh, Suns. Suns are going to beat the Blazers.
Whoa! Hot take.
Whoa.
You got
Wow.
With those hot takes all the time.
Hey, let's bet 2 bags of ketchup chips on that.
I got to. But if I win, you got to pick up my packages in the U.S.
Sure, bet. Shake on it. Virtual shake. Let's do it.
They'll come with the ketchup chips. You can send some over here to the East Coast too. And then, what are your thoughts on the Coach of the Year / Coach of the Year snub?
Yeah. Nick Nurse got robbed. Absolutely got robbed.
Thank you.
When you have players who were, I mean, aside from a couple of them who were basically nobodies a couple years ago, even last year, outside, like if you're not from Toronto, if you don't follow the Raptors, 2 years ago you didn't know who Fred VanVleet was. Like you didn't know who Pascal Siakam was, right? And now all around the league, he's Spicy P, right? Fred VanVleet scores 30 points a game. It's not 30, but you get what I'm saying. Other than like Kyle Lowry, Serge Ibaka, who's been in the league for since I was a kid. Other than them, you're able to accomplish what you've accomplished with these types of players. You should be Coach of the Year every year. Like, there's no question about it.
I mean, those are great points. And so, it was just one vote off, which is the crazy part. It might as well just like giving it to the three guys. I mean, in my humble opinion. But before we move on to our next topic, we're going to take a quick break. So EBC Sports International will return in a moment.
Hello there. Imagine Demi got the virus and she infected 2 more. And those 2 infected a lot more of people. And it goes on and on until it became an epidemic. But what if Demi stayed at home? Then those 2 wouldn't have contracted the virus. Then those people would have not been infected. This is not just your battle, it's everyone's, and you can be a huge help. Follow social distancing, or better yet, stay at home.
Hi, this is Carlo Cuevas. Watch out for the newest online show of EBC Films, Pelikwentuhan. Will be hosted by Miss Gladys Reyes and Raymond Di Mayuga. Watch it live sa aming YouTube channel and Facebook page. Kita-kits!
Hello po! Ako po si Marco Sison. Abangan po natin ang part 2 ng Tagisan ng Galing dito lang sa Net20.
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm Ken Cruz. So sticking with the NBA, there has not been a shortage of exciting games so far in the bubble. Some teams are looking sharp while others are still shaking off the rust. Who's surprising you so far, Jolty?
Surprising me in a bad way. It's definitely the Grizzlies. Going back a month ago when the schedule was first released, we here on the show were talking about who has the best chances of clinching a spot in the final playoffs. And all of us said, it's the Grizzlies to lose. They were 3.5 games ahead of the 9th place team, even more for the further teams back. And other than their win tonight, they lost their first 4. Took 5 games for them to get their first win. They got 3 games left, and now every single team that is in the bubble in the Western Conference is within 2 games of them. And they started out 3.5 games ahead. That is absolutely ridiculous. And now, after losing Triple J, Jaren Jackson Jr. for the season, it's over for them.
Yeah, that's tough.
How about you, Mike?
For me, is just how atrocious the Lakers have been shooting the three ball. I mean, absolutely the worst display of shooting I've ever seen in years. I mean, we're in the day and age of the NBA where the three ball is extremely important, especially for the teams winning. You look at the past champions.
Hey, quick question for you: How many 3-pointers did they make in the game yesterday versus the Rockets?
I think it was 5, right? 5 of 20.
No, two.
Even worse.
All right, continue your point. Just wanted to bring that up.
Yeah, as I was saying, champions last year, Raptors shoot the three. Golden State, obviously one of the best 3-point shooting teams ever to play. And this Lakers are leading or not even leading the bubble, but they're the worst 3-point shooting team, shooting at 29%, which is by far the worst. This is the worst LeBron-led shooting team in his career by far. And I really think that this is going to be an Achilles heel for them in the playoffs. Granted, they are a pretty good defensive team. They're probably top 5 in defensive efficiency. But they're going to have to be able to shoot the ball, because I think the Raptors had the perfect game plan, which was to double AD every time he touched the ball, dare the other people to shoot. They missed those shots. So a lot of teams are going to adopt that defensive plan against them. Yeah, LeBron's going to get his. He's going to get his 30, 12, and 10 or whatever. But I think when it really comes down to it, he has streak shooters around him at best, and you never know what you're going to get every game. That shocks me the most so far.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're also, as you said, they're the worst 3-point shooting team. They're the worst offensive. They're the worst team offensively in this bubble right now, performance-wise.
We're talking about the bubble where teams are regularly scoring 130, 140 points.
Yeah.
Easy. Yeah, well, I mean, like we've heard it before, right? This is supposedly a shooter's court, right, where there's no depth perception problems, but it looks like the Lakers have quite a bit of depth perception problems. And so, I mean, Danny Green is looking like, Danny Red, right? I mean, Red, stop, please. Zarita, who surprised you so far this in the week 2?
For me, it's the 76ers. I think overall they've just been a huge disappointment. A lot of people have them coming out of the East. But for me, I feel like it's always something. Something's wrong with them. They're not jiving. They're not shooting well. They're not doing this. Embiid is slapping his teammates during timeouts, calling them out on things. Now you have Simmons, who's out indefinitely with this knee injury. And they've already tried different coaching techniques with Simmons by pulling him off point guard so that he can focus on offense, but that's not working. So I feel like 76ers overall, on paper, they look great. They should come out of the East. They have more talent than a lot of these teams, but for whatever reason, something's not working. So it's either Brett Brown's got to go, you trade Embiid or Simmons, or you just blow up the team, because it hasn't been working for a couple of seasons now.
Let's work this around. I was just going to say, let's work this around, right? I've heard all your negatives. Who has positively surprised you so far? Zarita.
Suns. I think a lot of us automatically counted them out. They're kind of just a throw-in with the rest of the teams that were invited. But I think being so young, they have this sense of energy that a lot of these teams probably weren't expecting. And they've just been really fun to watch, especially Devin Booker. So I'm going to say the Suns.
Mike, who has surprised you in a positive way so far?
Before I answer, I had to ask you this, Zarita. You're talking about the 76ers. What move would you make as far as, you said, either trade Embiid or Simmons? I'm interested to know what you would do in their situation.
For me, I'd probably build my team around Embiid and get rid of Simmons, because there is something wrong, clearly, with, I think he's seeing a psychologist now about his shooting. So to have that length, to have that skill, but you're not shooting the way you should be, I think there's something wrong. So for me, I would build around Embiid and get rid of Simmons.
Got it. I respect that. To answer your question, Ken, positive surprise to me has been Michael Porter Jr. The guy is a beast. He's from Seattle, so I saw quite a few of his high school games when he played high school ball here. The guy is like a Grant Hill that can shoot. So, like, the guy is like super athletic. I think he's healthy now, because I know that he is having some back problems. But he is man. Denver is the future, man. I'm telling you, that team is gonna do some things next few years.
They're definitely scary. Jolt, who's impressed you so far?
How about Carmelo Anthony? The entire league quit on this man last season, and he has been nothing but fire in the bubble. So, I mean, yeah, he's definitely impressed me. His
Skinny
three
Melo?
is on point.
Yeah, he's lining up. Yeah, Skinny Mello is lining up. New York Knicks Mello is lighting it up. But before we cap off our NBA talk, one more question for you guys. Let's get your overall reactions to this week of the NBA return. Mike?
For week 2, just my reaction. I think it's still going great. I mean, for me personally, I love the idea of like the virtual fans. I think that's a pretty cool thing. Like, we need to be on one of the games sometime. That'd be pretty cool. Like do the show from the stand or something like that. But I just like I like the environment. I mean, the NBA's been doing a wonderful job so far.
Yeah, staying with you, what are your thoughts about Zion's stamina so far?
Oh, with his stamina, oh man, I mean, with his weight issues, I mean, he's still dropping 25, getting 12 boards.
In 15 minutes.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, obviously the potential's there. I think he just needs to hire a really good trainer. I mean, he needs to hire like Tim Grover or something, one of those great trainers that trained Kobe and Jordan. Because, I mean, if he loses like 40 or 50 pounds, man, possibilities are endless for that guy.
40 or 50 pounds?
Oh, you can do that easy. Dude, look at Jokic. Jokic lost like 100 pounds.
But whatever they're feeding them in this bubble, everyone who did lose that weight during COVID has gained it back. Marc Gasol, Jokic, Zion, they all gained it back. So I don't know what they're feeding them, but they need to take it easy on them.
I feel like Zion is taking all of Brandon Ingram's portions.
He is, but he's like, are you going to finish that?
Jolty, what are your thoughts on this past week's NBA action?
The scoring is insane. It makes games so much more exciting to watch. You guys were talking about the 3-ball in the Lakers earlier. The 3 in this bubble has been off the charts. Teams like even right now, we're filming this on Friday night. The Raptors are down by 30 points or whatever it is in the 4th. They're not going to come back. But if it was, 5 minutes earlier, down 30 in late in the 3rd, the shooting has been so incredible in this, in the bubble that I wouldn't count them out. It's like Kevin Garnett said, anything is possible in this bubble with the way the scoring
Anything is possible.
Yeah. And then Zarita, I mean, what's impressed you? Well, not what's impressed you, but what are your thoughts? I mean, there's guys coming out of nowhere, like TJ Warren, right? I mean, I
think just the overall competitiveness in the bubble. I don't know what it is. Maybe the fact that the fans aren't there or they're more zeroed in. Just the level of competition I'm pretty surprised with. And if I can have this kind of basketball for the next couple of seasons, I'll do it. Mind you, not in the bubble, but yeah, I think the level of competition and like Mike said, the overall experience, I forget that we're in a bubble and just like we talked about it before, the sound effects or the virtual fans, clearly Paul Pierce is laying down on his bed watching this game.
Yes.
But it's just fun. And I think the NBA has done a really good job to make sure that the experience is still there.
Last NBA question for you guys for the week. Let's go around real quick. Who's your MVP of the bubble right now?
Oh, man.
Right now?
Yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I'll go Gary Trent Jr. I like the underdog guys.
Nice choice. Zarita.
TJ Warren.
Great choice also. And how about you, Jolty?
Who's that?
Giannis?
Oh, Giannis?
Michael Porter Jr.
Oh, Porter.
Oh, yeah. That card is increasing in its value by the second.
Yeah.
Mine has to be Devin Booker, man. Come on. The dude is tearing it up. His defense went from really bad to okay. So I mean that helps.
Hey, it's an improvement, man.
Because he has A+ offense, right? But his defense is always his like Achilles heel. But in the bubble, at least his defense is like actually okay. So the dude is getting more well-rounded. And I think Draymond Green is right. He should be in a better team than the Suns. But
Ken, I have a question for you if you have a second. What was a positive takeaway for you so far?
Not the Lakers.
I can sense that. I assume that.
Yeah. Positive take. Something very surprising in a positive way has to be, as Jolty said, I think it's the three-point shooting. It's been extremely hot. I mean, other than my team, everyone else seems to be hitting their three, and it's extremely exciting to see. I mean, I love when a team is down by 1 billion points, and then like 2 minutes later they're tied, and then it's just a shoot 'em. And so I love the competitiveness of this bubble. And it's only going to get crazier, guys, because the playoffs are around the corner. The best thing about this is that we're already so close to the playoffs, and it's only going to get more heated. I can only imagine how crazy that play-in game is. Whoever's going to be 8 and 9, that's probably going to be one of the craziest games that we'll see. I hope, just because everything is on the line. One game. So. Yeah, it's gonna be the first of its kind, guys. So I'm hoping for Suns Blazers also, but we'll see. All right, so we got a lot more after the break. So stay with us.
Kababayan, naharap na naman po tayo sa mabigat na pagsubok na ito. Ito yung COVID-19.
I hope everyone's okay. I hope everyone's safe.
Nandito po kami para hikayatin pa po kayo na maging matibay.
Mas maging matatag po tayo and just stay positive po sa lahat po ng nangyayari ngayon.
Mga mahal kong kababayan, lampasan po natin, pagtagumpayan po natin ang pagsubok na ito.
Stay strong sa panahon po na to.
Huwag tayong mawawalan ng pag-asa.
At inihikayat din po namin kayo na sana makinig po tayo sa ating gobyerno.
Sumunod muna tayo sa gobyerno dahil yun yung pinakamainam na paraan para hindi na lumagana pa yung virus.
Let's all stay at home.
Spend time with our loved ones, with our families.
At higit po sa lahat, make sure to pray for everyone, pray for everything that is going on right now, especially our frontliners po who are sacrificing their lives to take care of everything.
Higit sa lahat, patuloy tayong lumapit, magtiwala at manalangin sa ating Panginoong Diyos.
At lagi tayong manalangin dahil yun po ang may pinaka-mainam na solusyon sa lahat po ng mga problema natin.
God bless you and your family. Please stay strong and keep our faith.
Tuloy po ang laban.
Mong mapagaling langanan ang puso kong tapat sa pagsintang di mo alam.
Ito po si Isay Alvarez.
Ako naman po si Robert Senya.
Abangan niyo po kami.
Yes, dito po sa Himig ng Lahi.
Ngayong linggo,
alas 8 ng gabi.
Dito lang sa Net25.
Kung laging panaginip ko'y tanging ikaw, di nang totoo madalas mong mapagaling langanan ang puso kong tapat sa pagsintang di mo alam. Ang pag-ibig kung lubusan kahirap man.
Welcome back to EBC Sports International. I'm Ken Cruz, broadcasting from Washington, D.C. Thanks so much for staying with us, guys. So before we go to pretty much our final topic, Zurita, you had some more positives regarding the NBA. I said it, we weren't going to talk about the NBA anymore, but we just can't get it.
I just love it so much. One positive that I did want to add on is the fact that the NBA and teams pretty much across the board have stayed consistent with their messaging. I know that's one thing that a lot of players were worried about, that if they were to play, it takes away from, everything going on. But I think the NBA and teams specifically have done a really good job to make sure that they're always referring to it, whether it be interviews, every time I see the national anthem, I think it's still really powerful. And anyone who plays the Raptors have to be on their knees a little bit longer because they do kneel for the Canadian national anthem. So that's just one thing I wanted to point out is the league and teams have stayed consistent with their efforts.
Well said, Zarina. Well said. And definitely the NBA has been doing an amazing job of allowing the players and coaches to be able to use this platform to get their message out. So moving on, as mentioned last week, and earlier in our broadcast, the NBA bubble has been serving as the gold standard of how they've handled their return, while the MLB leaves a lot to be desired. The NFL has already started the training camps, and their season officially starts on September the 10th. No preseason games this year, and some players are opting out of playing this season based on coronavirus concerns. So, Jolty, how should the NBA handle their season? Should they push for a bubble?
You said NBA, but I think we're talking about NFL.
I'm telling you, man, I really can't stop.
I think the NFL needs to take a look at what Major League Baseball has done and do the exact opposite. They've already said they still want to have, traveling teams, and they want to have fans in the stadiums where they're allowed, where possible, which I think is absolutely dumb. They could easily have a bubble, shorten the season to 8 games. You don't need 16 games. Shorten the season to 8 games, have a bubble. There were already some reports of a few places, or actually one place where it could be, and that's in your area, Ken, in the DC area.
Wow.
The reason being, they have 8 large stadiums within a 40-mile radius. So they got FedEx Field, where the Redskins play, or sorry, they're not the Redskins anymore. The Washington football team plays.
Yeah, amazing.
Such a cool name.
Yeah.
Washington football team. They got the Ravens field. They got University of Maryland. And then they got the baseball fields, Naval Academy, the DC United soccer stadium. Now, another venue that I think could work, that, the NFL hasn't brought up, and I don't know why not the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex? The MLS just played there. That worked out perfect. They have 17 fields at the ESPN Wide World of Sports Complex.
You've seen those zoom outs, right? Before the NBA, in between commercials, right? They zoom out and they show you the entire campus. Yeah. I've noticed that there are all those fields there. You're right.
Yeah, there's 17 that they can convert into rugby, soccer, football, whatever you want. So I don't know why they're not talking about.
Probably lack of seating for their fans, right?
Yeah. Who cares? You'll get the TV revenue, you'll get the jersey money, and just be done with it.
Those are great ideas. Mike, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts is kind of in line with Jolty's, is that this is a really, really tough issue. I mean, you have 53 players to make the final roster, plus you got the staff and the coaching staff and everything like that, training staff. So let's just say 80, 90 people per team.
So they said 97.
97 max per team. So, you times that by 30, there's 30 teams in the NFL. So,
I'm not the
best at math. Yeah, I'm not the best at math, but I don't think. I think at that point, you're gonna have to rent. You're gonna have to either purchase an island or just give the Super Bowl to Tom Brady right off the bat and just call the season good.
My goodness, here we go.
Yeah, if they cancel the season, I don't know if Tom Brady's going to make it. I think he's going to be in a wheelchair by next year.
Yeah, probably.
Zarita, what are your thoughts?
Same thing as both these guys, is just what not to do based on 2 or 3 different leagues that have undertaken starting their season. NHL's doing a great job as well, of course, because they picked Canada. But my only concern is, again, the facility. Like you guys were doing the math. How do you feed that many football players with, a bubble? It's going to be
colleges do it all the time.
Dude, and they're like 350 pounds too. They eat like 20 times a day.
These aren't, okay, your biggest guy in the NBA is, Zion, so you can feed him, but now you're like, it's just, like, facility-wise, it's going to be very difficult, but I think that's the only way you're going to do it, especially because your own players are now calling you out, saying that the league doesn't care about the safety of the players, so you have to do it right.
Odell Beckham Jr. was
Well, quick question. What are the percentage? So I asked this earlier to Zarita, but I'll ask this to all of you guys. What's the percentage of the season starting and finishing? Jolty.
I want to say like at least 95 to 100%. These owners want it to happen. It's going to happen. Whether or not there are fans in the stands, whether or not players get COVID or not, it's going to happen and it's going to finish. And they're given the option as well to opt out. And I think it's the Patriots who already have 7 players that have opted out of the season, before training camp even starts. And it's just consistently rising. I think we're up to 69 total or something that have opted out across the league.
Mike?
Same. I think the CBA, their collective bargaining agreement, is totally pro-owner. So they have all the leverage and control. So, yeah, the season's going to go on no matter what.
I think 100% the season's going to start, but whether or not they actually finish it, I'm going to lower it to maybe 90, 95%. Again, we just have to see what their actual plan is, but for sure they're going to start.
So pretty high. So I think we have a couple minutes left. So I'll have one last question. This one's nice and personal. What was your first sports memory? Let's go with Mike.
My first sports memory, as early as I can remember, is when I used to live in Sacramento, California. Sacramento Kings fan. When I was a kid, I was about 4 years old. My dad took me to my very first NBA game where they played the Portland Trailblazers. So Clyde Drexler was still in the league, and I was just amazed at how much that guy, or how high that guy could fly. So that was a cool moment.
Awesome. Zarita?
Mine would have to be my grandma forcing me to watch the Blue Jays when she used to babysit me. So I think that's why I love the Blue Jays. But that was her tactic. It's either you take a nap or you watch the Blue Jays with me. And, of course, I opted for staying awake, and now I'm here.
And then Jolty.
Mine's a sad one. It's when Gary Anderson for the Vikings in 1998 was the first player not to miss a field goal or an extra point all season. We go to the playoffs, the NFC Championship game against the Falcons, and he misses a field goal that would have brought the Vikings up by 10. They ended up going on to lose in overtime. And
very Blair Waldorf-esque.
Man, I didn't realize that you were either only 18 or just have really bad memory that if that's your first.
Yeah, that's stuck with you.
Did you say 18?
Yeah. No, I mean,
98.
I asked what your first sporting memory was.
Okay, one thing you have to remember is I played football my entire life, so my memory's not all there.
Gotcha. Great save. Love it. Real quick, before we end, my one is, I think it was a sports tournament. It was the first time I ever played basketball, I remember. And I remember, trying to go for a layup, and this guy that was, maybe 7 years older than me just blocked me off the backboard. That was the first sporting.
Welcome to basketball.
And now I'm 6'1". So,
Revenge. Go find that guy and block him. Any chance.
I'm going to find that guy. I'm going to block him in his dreams.
That guy's 5'2" now.
Well, I appreciate you guys for all your feedback. And so that's all we have for this week's edition of EBC Sports International. On behalf of everyone on our panel, thank you guys for joining us. And be sure to tune in next week. Make sure to visit our websites at eaglenews.net and eaglenewslive.com. Like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter at twitter.com/EagleNewsPH to join the conversation. For Eagle News, Ken Cruz, we live in interesting times.